Work smarter and harder than your competition. You don't need more than 2 years to become a millionaire. Identify your competition. How hard are they working? What are some differentiators you can bring to your workplace or market? Start by working smarter. There's no use in working harder if your work isn't effective at producing income. You'll be spinning your wheels. There's no sense in selling ice cream cones on your front lawn in the dead of winter. Instead, set up a booth at the park in the sizzling summertime. You get the idea. Simple. Common sense changes can greatly improve your effectiveness. Work harder than others are willing. We've all seen the guy or gal at the office who works harder than anyone else. Maybe they're a little nerdy or a little too interested in their job, or are they? I remember when began my career with A.G. Edwards and Sons in 2002. I was in a training class of around 55 people. After completing training a year later, our class was reduced to less than half. My 5th anniversary mark, only 5 of us were left. Most failed. Why? Because they weren't willing to put in the hard work required. I beg you to not be afraid of hard work. Not only will your boss feel better about what you're doing for them, you will too. Learn from your mistakes and move on. Everyone makes them. You do. We all do, and believe me, I've made some pitiful mistakes. Would you get suckered into 2 multi-level companies that go nowhere? Would you throw $8,000 into an online business venture only to lose it all? Those are just a couple of several investment mistakes I've made with my money. Mistakes are difficult to swallow. I think our first gut reaction as human beings to the realization we messed up is to shift blame to others or to circumstances. The very best way forward is to admit we fumbled the ball. Are you willing to admit when you make mistakes? And some people, when faced with their own inadequacies, beat themselves up. And you know what that does? It paralyzes them from making the decisions they need to make to achieve success. It's important to remember that only those who are asleep make no mistakes. Ingvar Kamprad, founder of IKEA. So take the simple step to fess up and move on. Yes, it's simpler than you think, especially once you have practice. If you are still in the middle of a debt mistake, one of the best things you can do is to stop paying interest. By transferring your balance over to a 0% APR credit card, this will free you up to hammer down on that debt. Instead of paying big interest payments, millionaires don't give up because of a few silly mistakes. They press on toward the goal. Build something new that you would love and be sure to experiment. You can read book after book about how to research what your customers will love, and by the time you deliver it, they'll already be bored with it. If you're the entrepreneurial type, I know make sure to work on projects you can get excited about. Chances are if you create something that you'd use and love, others will too. Millionaires understand that some of the best ideas don't come out of costly research. They come out of a passion for making the world a better place. Also remember to experiment. Have fun. Some of my best ideas come out of experimentation. In 1945, Percy Spencer experimented with a new vacuum tube while doing research for the Raytheon Corporation. He popped popcorn and melted a candy bar, and saw the great potential for this process, which eventually culminated into the advent of the microwave. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, recently explained in an interview with Charlie Rose that it's more difficult to edit than it is to create something entirely new. But I've learned that sometimes creating something new can be the best way forward to becoming a millionaire. One of the things that I've been most excited about building is my blog. My financial planning practice was growing at a steady rate, but after I launched GoodFinancialSense.com in 2008, my practice and revenue have grown significantly. Some of that is a direct result of getting new clients to my practice, while the other more surprising revenue source has been directly from the blog. Learn to budget, or at least get help doing so. You know that I hate budgeting. Thankfully, my wife budgets like a pro. Here's a tip from one of the financial greats: never lose money. Warren Buffett, CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. If you don't budget, I promise you'll lose money to overspending. Want to make yourself sick? Count up how much you're spending on eating out, clothing, gadgets, and other delights and write it down. Then, start budgeting after a year. Look at how much you're spending and compare with your initial count. Try not to lose your lunch. A hugely important part of budgeting is ensuring you're spending less than you're making. And the only way to do that, friends, is to track everything. If you're not a spreadsheets kind of person, that's okay, just make sure you have some help.